All right, guys, welcome to the next lesson in our financial literacy unit. Today we're going to be talking about what's called net worth. So with net worth, what that means is how much money you actually are worth. So we're going to talk about a couple key vocabulary words here in a minute. But before we do that, we have a very special audience with us today in our video today. So we got a couple of wonderful ladies of our class that are here in the background. They're going to be helping us out. So we're going to be moving on. And if they want to answer questions, they're welcome to. And if not, they're going to stay tuned and help each other out, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to be able to classify what are called assets and liabilities to determine your net worth. And net, think about that as a big net, how much it is, how much it captures and holds. And worth is like your money. So how much, after you pay all your bills, after you have things that are worth value, how much you're worth. So what an asset is something of value that you own. So that could be a house, a car, land, or even jewelry. Okay, this could also be like some artwork or things like that people want of value that you could sell. Now, it's very important to know if it's an asset and it's a house, it's only an asset if your house is completely paid off. So if you still owe money on that house, that's actually going to be what's called a liability. So some things could be both an asset and a liability. It just kind of depends on where you are with their payment. Same thing for a car. Okay? A liability is something that you still owe money on. Okay? So this could be loans, credit cards. It could also be a house and a car, just depending on where you're at with the payment. So the net worth is just an easy subtraction problem. You take everything that's your asset, which is going to be your positives, and then you're going to take away your liabilities, which are your negatives. So think about your liabilities of taking away that money, and think about your assets as adding to your money. Okay, so that's something that we're going to look at with some examples. And then debt, of course, is money that you still owe. Okay, so those are our key vocabulary words that we're going to be looking at in today's lesson. So very, very straightforward. In order to find your net worth, you are going to, it's equal to your savings or cash, your value of items owned, and so that is going to be a positive. Those are what's called your assets. So we're going to take all your assets and we're going to subtract all the amount that are your loans, your payoffs, your credit card debt. Those are your liabilities. I always have to double check I spelled that right. Yep. So again, all net worth is assets minus liabilities, just like we said over here. Okay? So we're going to take everything, assets of things that you own, so these are your positive values, and we're going to subtract away your liabilities, the money that you owe. So when we subtract, if you get a positive amount, that means you have a positive amount of money. That means you have a positive net worth. And what this means is that you own more than you owe. And we'll see that with some examples too. If you have all your assets and you subtract your liabilities, and this is a negative number, that's called a negative net worth. And that's going to be reversed. That means that you owe more than you own. And for the most part, most people have a negative net worth because they have to kind of take on a little bit of debt to make sure they can pay for things, but then after a while, they're going to hopefully get that positive net worth. For example, when you first buy a car or you first buy a house, you're going to have that negative amount, even though in the end, you'll start earning some equity from that house and having that to get to a positive net worth. But it might take some time. Okay? So here again, assets and liabilities. In order to find net worth, that's all we have to do is subtract. I'm going to make that 2 words instead of 1. Okay? So in order to get your net worth, we're just going to take assets minus liabilities. So my assets were $3,280, and we're going to subtract the liabilities of $1,480. So all this represents is whoever this person had a positive amount of this amount, and this is how much they owed. So remember when we subtract decimals, we line up the place value. So that's 0, 0, 0 minus 0 is 0, 8 minus 8 is 0, 2 minus 4 I can't do, so I borrow. And I get 12 minus 4 is 8, 2 minus 1 is 1. Well, again, it's always assets minus liabilities, and this is a positive number. So what this means, their net worth is $1,800, whatever this person is, and then this is a positive net worth. So I'll put that up here. I'll say positive net worth of $1,800. That's the most specific answer for this person. Okay? And again, that makes sense because a positive net worth is you own more than you owe. They owned $3,280 worth of their assets, and they only owed $1,480. So this is a positive net worth. Well, look at this one. Assets is things that they own, and liabilities is the thing that they owe. Well, this number is less, so this is going to be a negative net worth before we even do any math. And just to help us out, let's maybe over here, assets, we're going to say own, liabilities, we'll put owe. That might help you guys in words that we know a little bit better. Okay? So we are going to subtract, but remember when we are going to subtract, we're going to do assets minus liabilities. In this situation, we're going to subtract the numbers, but we already know it's going to be a negative. So we're going to go ahead and subtract the liabilities and the assets. So it's going to be backwards from what we just did. Because $2,890 is the bigger number, and when we subtract the assets is what we own, is the smaller number. Okay, when we subtract, and I'll show you a couple of ways to see how you can see that. So 0 minus 0 is 0, 0 minus 0, 0, 0 minus 0 is 0, 9 minus 6 is 3, 8 minus 3 is 5, and 2 minus 2 is 0. So they have a negative net worth of $530, which isn't too bad. That means that they only owe $530 to get out of debt, to be at 0. It's better to be at 0 rather than to still owe money. Okay? So again, technically speaking, if we're doing assets minus liabilities to get to your net worth, on this one, your assets were $2,360, and if we subtracted $2,890, okay, just so you can see how we got that. If you were to double check it on a calculator, you guys can see why this is going to be negative. So 2,360 minus, excuse me, minus 2,890, there's that negative 530. Okay? All right, so if you have questions on that, you can pause the video, reach out to your teachers, and make sure you understand that, because we are taking the assets minus the liabilities, but we kind of had to reverse this one since we had more of our liabilities. All right. So the next one says, find all the assets and liabilities, put them into the table, and find the net worth by subtracting the assets from the liabilities. So what we need to do is, they didn't tell me how much they own versus how much they owe. We got to figure that out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this table, and I'm going to use purple for the assets and red for the liabilities. So the purple for the assets is what we own, and the red for the liabilities is what you still owe. So for this person, for cash or savings, that's going to be an asset because it's money that they have. Credit card debt is something that they owe, so we can use these up here to help us out. Credit card debt is going to be a liability. The car, if it's paid off, that's a good thing. That means that you own it now. If you were still paying on that loan, then it would be a liability. Jewelry is also going to be an asset because you can turn around and sell it for a profit. Student loan, if you're still paying that, is going to be a liability. Remember, assets are what you own, liabilities are what you owe. So what we're going to do over here is got to figure out our total assets. Okay? And that's what this table is here for. So we have cash, or savings. Put that there so we remember. That way you don't have to go back to the top of the paper. So the cash in the savings was $850. Another asset we had was the car being paid off. And that was a value of $3,100. And what that represents is after you've paid off your car, you could still turn around and sell it for that much of a profit. Okay? So when you buy a car and you want to sell it later on, you can't sell it for the full price again unless you maybe did some improvements on it. So that's why maybe this is a little bit not as high. If you bought a $10,000 car or $15,000 worth car, over time you've used it, so they're going to sell it for a smaller price. Okay. Then jewelry is worth $990. And then if you needed to extend this table, if we had more assets, we could do that. So again, assets are something that you own, so that's adding value to your net worth. Liabilities is something that you owe, so that's taking away. Okay, so owe, remember, if you see key phrases like pay off, because you're still paying that bill. With assets, if you see something that says paid off, so be very careful in your lesson. So we see that. So if we see paid off, that means now it has value to you, it's adding. So if you see something like if this said car pay off, that might have been your monthly payment that you still owe or your total bill that you still owe, so that's why it would be there. Okay? So something that they still owe is credit card debt. And that value was $1,025. And then they also had a liability of their student loan for going to school of $1,900. So we're going to add all that up, put that right there. We're going to add this all up, put that right there. Remember, it's always what you own minus what you owe. And that's going to give us our net worth. Okay? So just for time purposes, we'll use the calculator to add up these items. So we have 850 plus 3,100 plus 990. So your total assets are $4,940. Then we're going to add up our total liabilities. Oh, sorry, couldn't see that calculator. Do that again. 850 plus 3,100 plus 990. And we get $4,940. So that's how much you own. That's your positive. Now we're going to look at our liabilities and say this person owes $1,025 and $1,900. And so we get my total liabilities is $2,925. Now before I do the subtraction, let's think about it. Own versus owe. Which number is bigger? Hopefully you said to yourself that it's this one. So if you own more than you owe, then you are going to have a positive net worth. Okay, so we can subtract those numbers. 4,940 minus 2,925. That's 5. 3 minus 2 is 1. So $2,015. Okay, so this is a positive net worth. So you have a positive net worth of $2,015 because of the fact that you own more than you owe. Okay? And just before closing out, we're going to go ahead and say this. Paid off is an asset because you've paid the item off fully and you don't owe any more money on it. The key phrase pay off is a liability because that's something you're still paying on. So you definitely need to make sure that we label which is which, so that way we can figure out our total assets, our total liabilities, and then subtract them. Okay? Thanks for tuning in, and my lovely ladies of the audience, thank you for being here. If you have any questions, make sure you need to rewind this video or reach out to your teacher for more help, and good luck on your assignment.